Reading from Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 4 through 10, Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 4 through 10. When you have it, say, I got it. When you have it, say, I got it. If you need more time, say, hold up. I believe it's on the screen to my right and your left. And it states, the word of the Lord came to me saying, before I formed you, I knew you in the womb. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Alas, sovereign Lord, I said, I do not know how to speak. I am too young. But the Lord said to me, do not say I am too young. You must go to everyone. Say everyone. Say everyone. I send you to say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you, and I will rescue you, declares the Lord. Then the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth and said to me, I have put my words in your mouth. See, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. Let us pray. Father God, I come to you as humble as I know how, asking that you allow me to decrease so that you can increase, and so that people may be set free, healed, delivered, and saved. And you get the glory out of me and my assignment. You may be seated. Have you all been enjoying this sermon series so far titled, Stand on It? To kick off Youth Month, Pastor opened up with the sermon titled, Breaking the Silence. Here he talked about Queen Esther, King Z, Haman, and Mordecai. He shared that sometimes in life, you have to break the silence at the workplace and relationships and all the places where things don't feel or seem right. He taught us that in all we must do, we must pray, we must plan, prepare, and when it's all said and done, God will provide. Followed by the father and son duo titled, I'm Still Standing. Here we were reminded to take a stand in the power of the Lord. How not to make God not just your savior in bad times, but make him Lord over every area of your life. To take a stand against sin and Satan by clearly distinguishing the two between the enemy and their inner me. And finally, no matter what comes your way, remember to stand. Standing on God's word, his will, and his way. Growing up, when asked, what are your plans after high school? My response will always be to become a pediatrician. Yeah, I wanted to be a doctor. My goal, my plan, my assignment, as far back as I can remember, was to become a doctor. A pediatrician is a medical doctor who sees the needs to infants, children, adolescents, and young adults. For many young people, a pediatrician is the primary care doctor from birth, perhaps through the age of 18. The word pediatrician comes from the Greek word for child. After applying and getting into the amazing Virginia Union University as a biology major, I was well on my way, white coat and all, to being a doctor. However, after the first semester, say the first semester. Say the first. I'm always telling my business YouTube, so here we go. After the first semester, I realized that this major was not for me. I failed my first semester of biology because, see, what I didn't know that I had to study more and party less. I had to get into community and not into community. I had to devote extra time in the book and not in those other books. I failed. It was at that point I had to go back to God, to the drawing board, and talk to God. And or I was going back to Jersey because my parents weren't having their money wasted. It was there at Virginia Union University where I reconnected with God. At the university mandatory chapel service that took place every Thursday. This was a Christian school. This is a Christian school. It was a credit. You had to have a 10 or you would not graduate. It was here where me and God had an encounter because I dare not go back to Jersey where I was out here living my best life and my folks was back in Jersey, in Virginia, cutting up rugs. It was a good time. But it was there where I had to go back and I said to say, God, I don't know. I can't go back. She's serious. What are we going to do? Shortly after, I switched my major to social work. There, I was able to flourish. Say flourish. My GPA went from a 1.5 in academic probation, don't judge me, judge somebody else, to a 3.5, which led me to graduate with a 2.8 overall, which is equivalent to a B minus. Turn to your neighbor and say, she did that. Did that. Did that. As I look back over my life now, becoming a doctor was what I call and I thought assignment. What do you mean, Minister Mo? I'm glad you asked. I thought that was the assignment that God had for my life. I thought I would be the first doctor in my family. I thought I would be taking care of infants, children, and young adults. However, being a doctor was not my assignment. Although I am not helping infants, children, adolescents, and young adults medically, say medically, I am helping them spiritually, emotionally, and academically. Not only on my job, but right here at the Anointed House of Prayer. How many of you can identify and testify that you too had some seasons in your life where you had a I thought assignment? Yeah, you thought that was the job and or career for you. Yeah, you thought that was the move for you. Yeah, you thought that was the house for you. You thought that was the car for you. You thought that was the relationship for you. You thought you wouldn't have kids. You thought you would have kids by now. You thought your friends would never leave you. You thought you would never be single. You thought you would be married by now. You thought you would never be divorced. You thought you wouldn't be a baby mama and or a baby daddy. You thought they would never try to steal, kill, and destroy you. You thought the business would work. For all the men in the room, I know it's hard out here in this doggy-dog world, and you too have gone through the I thought season. I thought I can trust him or her. I thought I could be vulnerable. I thought that they had my best interests at heart. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I had secured the bag. I thought the business would yield results. I thought I would never suffer with depression, anxiety, fear, unforgiveness, low self-esteem, just to name a few. I stopped by to encourage you all that Isaiah 55:5-9 states, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts." We all had an I thought assignment at some point in our lives. and might have viewed your assignment as too small. You've seen it as insignificant. You even felt like you have been cheated, or you have compared yourself to others. You may have even felt like you have been cheated at a something that somebody else was giving because it wasn't your time. Or maybe it wasn't your assignment. You see what they're doing, and you're thinking, God gave them a more important assignment than me. But when you invite God into every area of your life, as PMA has taught us in the Mental Health Awareness series titled Becoming a Better Me, I challenge you to revisit it. He taught us how to spend time in his presence, in his promise, in his purpose, and in his power. Before I get into it, you already know I'm coming with all of the stops. But it's something that PMA said back then. You have to spend time in his presence. See, it's in the presence of God where you're able to fight off all of the things that you're struggling with. I did some research and I discovered that men struggle with a lot of things, but you would never know it when they put on their clothes. They struggle with being accepted. They struggle with acceptance, but God got a word for you about acceptance. What he say, Minister Mo? He said, Romans 15:7, accept one another, then just as Christ accepted you, in order to bring praise to God. Why are you worried about being accepted, brothers, when he already accepted you? Why are you worried about being accepted, brothers, when he already called you? Why are you worried about being accepted, brothers, when he already told you that you are to die for? Everything you need is in his word. But in order for you to get what he got for you, you have to get into his presence. Anger. We struggle with anger sometimes. Women do too, and we trickle it down to our kids. But what about this anger, fellas? Colossians 3:8. Put away anger and wrath. Turn to God and pray instead. It's when you feeling angry that you just got to say, you know what, baby girl? You know what, bro? Hold up. I got to go consult my boss. God, I come to you as humble as I know how. You know I'm not over the touching ministry. I want to reach out and touch somebody, not your way, but my way. So, God, I'm asking that you allow this anger to go down before I rise up. And at this point in our life, baby, we ain't getting what is called punishment. We going to prison. So you got to be careful on what you're doing with your hands. But the only way you can figure out what to do with your hands is if you get in his presence. I'm going to go head on. Hold on, Holy Ghost. Here we go. In his promise, in his purpose, and in his power, which will allow you to understand Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans and the assignments I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. I know we want to go out here and we want to do our own thing, but did you invite him into the plan? Did you invite him into the assignment? Did you ask him if this is something that he wants you to do in this season? We oftentimes, before we invite him, we do, and then we go back and pick him up. We want him to be a tag along at that point. I want you to go back and I want you to invite him into every area of your life. Turn to your neighbor and say the title of this here sermon. It's my assignment for me. Turn to the other neighbor and say, it's my assignment for me. Now say it loud and proud to yourself. It's my assignment for me. Not only has God given us assignments, he's also given us purpose, callings, and assignments. Purpose is defined as the reason for which something is made, done, or created. Each and every one of you men here were made purposely, with intention. You were created for such a time as this. Calling is defined as a strong urge towards a particular way of life, career, and vocation. Assignment is defined as a task or piece of work assigned to someone as part of a job, a course, or a course of study. So I ask you all, what is it in your life that God is calling and or have assigned you to do? Have you spent time in his presence to figure out, God, where am I going? What am I to do? How am I to provide for this family? How am I to take care of these kids? How am I to go? What line of work do you have for me? Versus going out there and applying for all of the jobs and they coming back and telling you are overqualified. You just want to go to work, but you're overqualified because you haven't took the time to get in his presence. You haven't taken the time to get in his promise. You haven't taken the time to find out your purpose. Are you inviting him into every area of your life? God is calling and have calling all of us to something. For some, he has called us to be an accountant, business administrator, in construction, director, an engineer, and financial services, graphic designers, human resource managers, instructional coordinators, judges, keyboard instrument repair and turner, lawyers, mental health counselors, nurses, occupational therapists, pharmacists, quality control analysis, radiologists, sheriffs, truck drivers, urologists, veterinarians, web designers, and zoologists. Is it fair to say that before you get either into your calling, purpose, and on assignment, you had to learn it? Someone had to teach it. You had to go and do intense research about it. And then you had to study it. After doing some research myself, I discovered that, Jeremiah has some powerful men in his bloodline. See, I don't know if many of you know, I don't know if you're spending time with him, but I discovered that Jeremiah has some powerful men in his bloodline from the father to the grandfather. What were they? They were priests. You see, priest duties were predictable. Everything was written down in the law. Priests ministered primarily to individuals with various needs. They belonged to a special tribe and therefore had authority and respect and were supported by the sacrifices and offerings of the people. But Jeremiah was called to something higher. Jeremiah was called to a higher position than his father and his grandfather. He was chosen and authorized as an authorized spokesman of God who declared God's word to the people. Jeremiah was called to be a prophet. Being a prophet was more demanding than serving as a what? A priest. The prophet never knew from day to day to the next what the Lord would call them to do or to say. Prophets had no guaranteed income. Jeremiah didn't know how he was getting paid. But the priest knew he was getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. Jeremiah might have got one every 90, 60 days. He didn't know. Here in the text, it is called by Jeremiah. Jeremiah is called by God. Jeremiah 1:5 states, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew who you were. You were born, and I set you apart. I made you a prophet of the nations." Before Jeremiah was born, God had already predestined the course of his life. Jeremiah didn't know. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't know what was about to happen. He was already set apart, sanctified, and made whole for the assignment God had for him. Jeremiah was not only formed, but created as a prophet to the nations. Before Jeremiah was conceived in his mother's womb, the Lord was thinking about him in the most profound and personal way. Although God had predestined Jeremiah's life unbeknown to him, and Jeremiah 1:6 to tell us that he had some doubt about his assignment. And it states, "Oh, sovereign Lord, I said, I do not know how to speak, for I am too young." It says Jeremiah was between the ages 17 and maybe 25. He's like, "God, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't go do that. I'm too young." And what did God say? But as I begin to do something before I get into that, as a young man, he felt inadequate, inexperienced, and ineloquent to be an ambassador for God. How many of you men, women, and young people can testify that you too have been given some assignments by God, and you feel underprepared? You feel that you're not enough. You're inadequate in certain areas. Not me, I could never. And maybe you just lack faith. We struggle with our assignment from day to day. Maybe not you. You don't want to tell your business. I'm going to tell my own. This is a struggle for me. But what I found out is as long as I continue to stay in his presence, he will give me everything that I need. So I'm encouraging you to get in his presence. So while he's thinking that Jeremiah is thinking he's too young, that he's underprepared, and he lacks faith for his assignment, I stopped by to encourage you all that Romans 8:30 states that those he predestined, he also called. Those he called, he also justified. And those he justified, he also glorified. Turn to your neighbor and remind them that if he calls you to it, he will see you through it. So I don't know what some of you have going on in your life, but if he's calling you to something, go before him, give it to him, and ask him to speak. Lord, speak. And I promise you, he will guide you to every area of your life. Which brings me to my first point. I designated some men to be my assistants today. Normally, it's the youth. For all my YouTube family, normally it's the youth, but today is Father's Day. We're going to get the men involved. So the first thing God will do for you is he will equip you. He will equip you. He will equip you. He's going to equip you. He's going to equip you with some things. Equipped is defined as being prepared mentally for a particular situation or task. Here in the book of Jeremiah, here in chapter 1:7, you can put it right here. Yeah, you can put it right there. Perfect. Here in the text, it reads, Jeremiah 7:8. But the Lord said to me, "Do not say I am too young. You must go to everyone I send you and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you, and I will rescue you, declares the Lord." I said equipped is defined as being prepared mentally for a particular situation or task. So God is telling Jeremiah, don't worry about none of what you're talking about. Don't worry about anything that you have going on. I am going to equip you. You're not too young. You're not too old. I will equip you. What the Lord was simply saying to Jeremiah is that you are not, again, too young or too old. In order for God to do his assignment, in order for God's presence to show up, Jeremiah had to first go get out of his way and be obedient to the situation or task set before him. So in order for God to show up, even though you're spending time in his presence, you have to still get out of his way because he's going to give you some instructions on what to do. So before, you have to get into his presence. You have to spend time with him. You have to be able to put word in you so that when time comes up, you can get word out of you. He can't give you anything. He can't send you on your way if you're not equipped. In order for little Marlon to play football, he comes and gets the equipment. He has to get a helmet to protect his head. He has to get the body shield, the brace, the breastplate. What is it called? Help me out here. The shoulder pads to protect the shoulders. He needs the knee guards and stuff to protect his knees. Because as he's going down there, he's dropping these the opponents. He has to be equipped for the assignment. In order for God to give you anything new, you have to go be in his presence. You have to study his word. You have to walk with him and talk with him. He has to tell you that you is his own before he can give you the desires of your heart. But before he can experience God's presence again, like Jeremiah, he had to go where God sent him. So before Jeremiah can experience God's presence, he had to go in unfamiliar territory. He had to be with people that was not in his area. He had to go from maybe west to east. He had to go from maybe here to Glen Burnie. He had to go from maybe Glen Burnie to Towson. While we may all look alike, we are not all alike. But God went with him to these different areas, and he was able to tell him and download in him exactly what he needed him to do and or say. God sent him. He spoke what God told him, and he had to fear rejection. He didn't know. They might not like him. He dressed different. He sounds different. He looks different. But he had to do it and do it anyway. I stopped by to encourage all the men on this here Father's Day that God is going to equip you in this season. He's going to equip you with the route to take concerning your talents, your treasures, and your family. He's going to give you the words to say, how to say it, and who to say it to. I'm sure, like myself, while you're hearing God on one hand say, do it, and do it afraid. For I will possess, I will protect and provide for you, but you have to meet me back here next Sunday for that one. On the other hand, you're hearing doubt, fear, inadequacy, and being underqualified saying, you can't do it. I stopped by to encourage about 6 of you that he's going to use all of what we call mess for your message. And his message, he's going to use all the tea being shared about you for your testimony. He's going to share so that you can share how he equipped you for such a time as this. He's going to use every aspect of who you are and where you've been. He factors in your background, education, the GED, your past occupations, and or vocations, and everything else you've accumulated from your life experiences. See, life has a way of teaching you things that nobody can. I know we always say you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes the wheel that you're inventing is a wheel specifically for you. Sometimes you have to go out and find out exactly that the stove is really hot. Sometimes you got to find out that if you forget your sunscreen back now that it's getting hot outside, that you will get sunburned. Because if you do not go with the proper equipment, you are going to burn. He's going to equip you. Which brings me to my second point. He's going to edify you. God will edify you. Edify is defined as to instruct, improve, and uplift. So not only is he going to equip you, he's also going to edify you. If you notice that the boxes are they're one little big, one they shrinking in size. Because see, everybody is at the equipping stage. Everybody starts here. Because, see, the definition for equip says being prepared mentally for a particular situation or task. If you are not spending time in his presence, he can't give you the tools that you need. If you're not spending time in his presence, you can't go to the next level. If you're not spending time in his presence, you can't become the CEO. If you're not spending time in his presence, you can't become the boss. If you can't do certain things because certain levels requires certain things. And every level that you go up, it's a new devil waiting for you. It's a new inner me waiting for you. Because, see, now that you may not have a struggle with acceptance or anger or depression, I ain't got them issues. I'm cool over there. Chill with me with that. She tripping, I know. But maybe fear got you. Because, see, somebody back in your younger days when you was a teenager, they said that you wasn't enough. You can't do that. What you say your name tough enough? You ain't tough, right? So fear got him. But what does it say? Matthew 10:26 says, therefore do not fear them, for there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known. So while they didn't know that Tough Enough was becoming PMA, he wasn't afraid to do anything. He might have been afraid, but when he got out in the crowd with his family behind him, he did exactly what he had to do. Because he knew that they were coming. He knew that they were going to cover him and they were going to stand with him. Do you know who's equipping you? Do you know if your friends got the right equipment? I know they got the equipment, but do they have the right equipment? They got the equipment in the trunk. Figure it out. Under the seat, figure it out. They got that. But do they got the word in the glove compartment? Is the word in the armrest? Is the word hidden in his heart? You got to have the right equipment. So now he wants to edify you. Edified is defined as to instruct, improve, and uplift. Here in the text, verse 9 states, the Lord reached out his hand and touched my mouth and said, I have put my words in your mouth. How many of you can relate that times as a Christian, this Christian walk, honey, Christians, you wanted to say some colorful words. Colorful. You wanted to paint the sky like a rainbow. Colors just splashing. As a Christian. Okay. You wanted to say some colorful words out your mouth. But guess you wanted to say these words to your coworkers. You wanted to say these words to your supervisor. You even had rehearsed in your mind how you was going to say it. I'm going to work in this job, and if they don't give me what I asked for, I've been here for 9 years. I'm over it. They about to get it. I got my people with the equipment in the trunk. It's going down. But as soon as you walked into the office, you had a good morning spirit. Good morning. Hey, how are you? You look nice. And you look back, and you're like, I rehearsed. And it was just that touch. He touched your mouth. But what about you get home and the kids, summertime, they in there eating up all your food, Dad. You done put all the lunch meat, all the groceries. You got extra snacks. You gave your wife, your significant others, an extra $200, and you can't even get a glass of cold water after you worked 16 hours. These kids in here, and you got some colorful words. Colorful words for your children. And then your wife come or your significant other, and she like, yeah, babe, and I just got to let you know the bit. And you got colorful words. Everybody about to get it. But then God gives you a touch. Not to add the bill collector coming. At this point, everything is locked and loaded. The word. Have you hidden in your heart? Yes. Okay? The words. He touched your mouth. Just like Jeremiah, because he was a chosen prophet, he was clearly instructed to say what God has given him to say, signifying his empowerment to speak God's words. The more you and I spend time in God's presence, he will give you the words to speak over every area of your life. Psalms 139:14, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. See, you forget when anger, depression, you got to go back to the word. But you got to go back into his presence. Because it's in the word and in his presence will he be able to download what he has for you. You can't get this off of BET and MTV. You can't get this off of at McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. You have to get into his word. And then you have to snuggle up in his presence. So he can let you know that Nehemiah 8:10, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Ephesians 2:10, I was created in Jesus Christ to do good works with God prepared in advance for me. And Colossians 3:12, I am chosen, holy, and dearly loved. But if you do not know what he says about you, low self-esteem kicks in. You don't know. I don't know. Your wife, your significant other, your daughter, your mother, any woman can tell you. But until you hear it from your father, downloaded into you, our father, you won't be able to receive that you're handsome. You won't be able to receive, I see you, king. You won't be able to receive, I appreciate you, black man. You won't be able to receive, I adore you, husband. You won't be able to receive, I support you in whatever decision you're going. You won't be able to receive it because you never heard it. But if you spend time in his presence and in his word, he will give you the desires of your heart. He wants to edify you. He wants to. But that's why edify is medium, if you would. Because, see, we haven't gotten all of the tools here. These are what I like to call, thank you, the prerequisites. Because, see, everybody can go to the equip part. Everybody not making it to edify. Everybody not going to get there. Only a handful of people. And if you're hanging out with people who's still in the equipped season, slowly but surely, they will fall off. Because as they see you not ready to go to the trunk, but to the armrest, they're going to be like, you scared, you punk. You're not. Strength is in being vulnerable. Okay? Strength, men, is in being vulnerable. I know you can't trust them. They're going to put my business in the street. But you trust when you get up in the morning that your car going to start. You don't check nothing. You don't investigate nothing. You do none of the things. When you came in, you sat right down. You didn't inspect nothing. You didn't check anything. You come in here Sunday after Sunday and you sit right down. So why can't you trust that the people that you're working with, rocking with, that y'all are doing the equipped season together, that they have your best interest at heart? If those are the people that say they are your people, nothing you do will be viewed as weak. If anything, it will be viewed as strength. Yeah, brother, I went to church and I let it out and I feel amazing. Word, what that felt like? Oh, wait, you look lighter. Your skin look good. I need to know about your Jesus. I want to know about that equipment that you talking about. I'm not talking about the equipment in the trunk. Matter of fact, we about to take that out, and we about to just be riding around with a whole bunch of Bibles in the back seat. Because, see, when it pops off, I need to go get a word. When it pops off, I need to be able to hide myself. I don't want to have to call Pookie and Ray Ray in the gang. I want to be able to call a couple of men that's going to say, listen, my mouth, I'm about to take these kids out. This wife got to go. And they say, listen, brother, I hear you, but let's pray. Let's go see what the word of God has for us. I know we men, I know we can still be strong. This is a safe place. I'm hearing that the men's call is a safe place. I pray that you guys are tapping into it, because I promise you it'll be the best decision of your life. We women don't understand, but we're trying to get there. But we can't understand and we can't help you edify if you don't give us anything to work with. And I know that when you go over here, we done dealt with low self-esteem, you get to worrying. I ain't got it, can't do it, got no money, she gonna leave me. Then your anxiety kicks in. And while you looking at anxiety, your insecurities kicks in. Now you're comparing yourself to other men because you're feeling like you're never enough. But anxiety, 1 Peter 5:7, cast all your anxiety on me because I care for you. He cares for you. But you would never know because you keep carrying them. And our leadership meeting, Elder Yancey, shout out to him. He said, people pick up everything else. But have you ever heard somebody say, I seen you cast your burdens and I went and picked them up? People not picking up your burdens. They picking up everything else but that. So won't you cast all of that weight on him? Because nobody wants it. But they want your money, they want your time, they want you to listen, they want you to come see them, they want you to pour, they want you to sew, they need a ride, I need money, I need shoes, I need a coat. Nobody asks you, yo, bro, you all right? You good? Like, no, are you really good? Like, no, seriously. But they want everything else. But they ain't going to pick up that worry. They ain't going to pick up your anger. They ain't going to pick up your depression. They ain't going to pick up your fear. They ain't going to pick up none of your worry. They sure ain't going to pick up your kids or your wife. You keep her over there. I got my own problems. I don't need hers and mine. Let it go. And then you get to greed. Because you see everybody edified. You see them. You see God instructed them. They listened because, see, they went from equipped. They got it. My mental good. I've been working out. I'm feeling strong. My lady said she loved me. My kids said they'll do. I'm good. They went up. Edified. Edified, right? Which is defined as instruct and uplift. So now they're listening to God. They spending time with him. Okay, babe, the bill is due. Okay. The wife now looking like, oh, I need to hang out with your God because you ain't never act like this. You all right? I'm good. You sure? Now she wants to be a part of what you're reading. She wants to get equipped with what you got going on. Because, see, now she begins to see a change in you. Your anger done died down. Where you used to pop off, you like anger. You know what? You're right. I love you. I love you. I love you. Because that keeps you from going there. From 0 to 100 real quick. Greed, Luke 12:15. Life is not measured with how much you own. We worrying about what the Jacksons have instead of worrying about what the Austins have. They worrying about what you got instead of worrying about what you really got. See, they don't know that you was struggling with an eviction, but you spent time with God. You had 60 days to get out. And in the midnight hour, he turns some things around for you. See, they don't know what happened in the process. They only know what the end result was. So when the insecurity come, it's okay. Because he got a plan for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope in the future. He also says, 2 Timothy 1:7, for I have not given you a spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and of a sound mind. But you would never know that if you don't spend time in his presence and in his word. Which brings me to my last point. After God done equipped you, after God done edified you, he wants to elevate you. He wants to elevate you. He wants to elevate you. Elevate. Elevate. He wants to elevate you. Bless him, Lord. Elevate is defined as to move or raise to a higher place or position. Here we see in verse 10, see, today I appoint you. Jeremiah is now appointed over nations, kingdoms, to uproot. He got some work to do, but he's equipped. He's mentally prepared. He was instructed. He ready. He ready for the job. Now he's elevated. To tear down, to destroy, overthrow, and to build and to plant. Here we see God elevate Jeremiah from what he thought he would be, a priest, to something as high as a prophet. Jeremiah's father and grandfather was priests. Jeremiah skipped a whole job description. He went from starting at the bottom to now we here with no training in between. But because Jeremiah was already predestined for this, God already downloaded this in him. He already knew what he called him to be, and he was going to do just that. He elevated him. So people are trying to figure out, how did you go from tough enough to Pastor Marlon Austin, a.k.a. PMA? How did you go from a church, and now you're talking about you got a help center? And now you're talking about something, you about to start somebody's PRP program? How you do that, bro? With what money? Where is it coming from? And you got how many kids and a wife? And you said you give her the desires of her heart because she deserves it? I'm confused. Because see, what people doesn't understand is, if God's hand is on it and in it, anything's possible. Here we see that God elevated Jeremiah from what he thought would be a priest, and now he's a prophet. I am sure many of you dads, like most parents, have encouraged and continue to encourage your children to be better than you are every day. Whether it be from completing high school, to attending college, and or taking up a trade, to playing sports, or starting a business. Being better with their finances, to investing in property, or perhaps getting in alignment with God's principles. Nobody wants their kids to do worse than them. The goal is for us to pour into our kids so that they can be better than what we are. And how many of you believe that I'm all right? I'm all right. I'm doing better than my mother and father, so I'm okay. But you know secretly that you can be doing so much more. So because you may have had kids at an early age, I told you had that I thought assignment. You didn't think that you would be divorced. You didn't think that you would be a widow. You didn't think that you would be a baby mama or a baby daddy. But this is where you are. So because this is where you are, doesn't mean that you have to stay there and you have to pass that down to your children. You want to teach them how to invest money, how to save a couple of dollars. You want these $500 shoes? I've been in everybody's household business. Don't tell nobody. I ain't going to say no days. You want these shoes? I'm going to match you. You get $250, I'm going to give you $250. It's a match. But you got to do something to get something. Oh, you want me to buy a car? I seen something on Facebook. The parents bought their daughter a car, and they had nice cars, and they bought her a little hoopty, and she came out and said, I don't like that. But me and your father sacrificed to get you this car. That's not what I wanted. You got a luxury car. I want what you have. But see, this is what I'm saying. Because we are not equipping the kids financially. They don't understand that it takes time to get to the top. It's a lot of sacrifices at night. It's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of shoes with holes in them. It's a lot of socks you up in the middle of the night putting stitchery on it and sewing them together. It's a lot of times that you washing stuff by hand because you want to make sure that your kids got everything that they need. They don't know nothing about that part. They just know that when they step out the house, my mom and dad figured out a way. So I don't go to school and get bullied. And it's in them seasons where you come home and it's like, all I'm asking, you've been here all day, can you just put a couple of waters in the freezer? All I'm asking you to do is, can you just wash the dishes that you made? All I'm asking you to do is, can you just help me fold my clothes? All I'm asking you to do is, can you just help me make my bed up in the morning? I know your mother got out earlier and I was last. I'm just asking you because I'm running late for work because I'm trying to keep the lights on for you. Men, I see you. I understand. So I ask you all, where do you find yourself in your assignment that God has on your life? Has he equipped you? Is he preparing you for your assignment? Is he edifying you, instructing you, and uplifting you? Or is he trying to elevate you, rise you to a higher position? I oftentimes find it as believers trying to be God and doing things in our own time and in our own way. So we don't want to go through that. I see Pastor could do it. I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to go ahead. My pride in the way, I ain't going to ask him how he did it. I'm going to just go ahead and do my own thing. When he telling you, I equipped you, I'm going to edify you, and then he going to elevate you. But you got to spend time in his presence. You got to follow directions and go, and then you're going to get the call. But you don't want to do that because your pride is in the way. Or maybe you struggle with identity. You don't know who you are. You don't even know whose you are. So then you figure out, I'm struggling with some of these other things, but I graduated, I moved on, I'm good, my anger low, I spent some time. And now you making a little bit of money, you done got edified. But see, what you fail to realize is this cycle keeps going and going and going. So now you see at your new workplace, you see this nice looking young lady and lust kicks in. But what you don't realize is that everything that looked good to you ain't always good for you. Because see, that'd be the reason why you go back to equipped. That'd be the reason why you try to, I done elevated. I done got this going on. I got that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build. I want to build like that. I want to build this way. I want to elevate first. Then I want to go back around the corner, spring the block, and then I want to get equipped. And then I want to be edified. But you forget that as soon as somebody walk by, everything's falling over. You forget that everything, that can't stay, that's not going to last. That's not going to last. Okay, so maybe I don't want to do that. Okay, that wasn't big enough. Okay, great. I got you. So we're going to go get edified. I'm going to edify. I'm going to get everything that I need. I'm going to go get, he going to give me the instructions. He told me to go left. I went right, so it's fine. Then I invited him back in. It's cool. And then he's going to elevate me. He's going to elevate me now. And then when I get there, he's going to quit me. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. But it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Because see, you're trying to figure this out all on your own. You never ask God, what do you need me to do? I told you, come into my presence, spend time with me, get equipped first. Get what you need, son. I love you. You're to die for. I love you. I appreciate you. You are a God-fearing man. You are a kind man. You are courageous. I love you, son. And then I can uplift you. And then I can elevate you. But see, what we're trying to do is we're trying to do this all on our own. We don't want God in none of the areas. But he's asking you, let me in. Let me in. Let me in. He's a still small voice. Let me in. We want to be elevated first, and then edified, and then equipped, thinking that everything is going to be maintained and sustained. What we have until it all starts falling down. You've seen it. This is not going to work. So I challenge you today for the remainder of the week to submit your I thought assignments to God and allow him to download the assignment he has for you so that he can equip you in your finances, the engagement, the new car, and the house. He's going to edify you for the job, the move, and what relationships to keep and let go. And finally, he will elevate you to the marriage and the business and get the glory out of you and your life.